Death does not exist. Now, this may seem easier for me to say as I am not dying, and I cannot recall a time in which I have died, even though I do believe in reincarnation. You can say that I haven't been on a battlefield and seen dead bodies shot to death. I have not been around death my whole life, and this is true. The deaths that I've experienced have been family members and my best friend when I was in high school. And there have been times when I tried to die myself, so I've been close to death. But regardless of any of this, my opinion of death would have been the same and is the same. Death does not exist. It is an ignorance of the truth. We see somebody fall, or we see somebody dead, and they don't get back up. We think that they are dead as a result. But the truth is that they are in transit. They are going beyond this one shell to another shell. Like we might take a train for a certain amount of time, then get off. That's exactly what death is. Most people see death, well, this is a metaphor, but most people see death as crash test dummies being launched at a wall. You know, that wall is death, and the time that it takes is the time of our lives. And most people think that, okay, it's just a wall. There's no way to get around it. Once you hit that wall, you end. You know, even most people who believe in an afterlife, Christians, Muslims, many Hindus, they think that this identity is who they are. That when they go to the afterlife, that is who they will be. This body, the perfect picture of this body for many Christians, the idealized form of this body in its perfect shape. Is a Catholic theory of how people will seem in heaven, the perfection of their own body, their own personality, and that their personality and their body will last forever in heaven, forever and ever, and that this is the form that we will have. But I'm here to say that I refute this. I think that these shells are not nearly as close to our true selves as we'd like to believe, as we picture ourselves. I picture myself kind of as this form, as this face, as this body, as this identity in society, as my name. But over time I've realized that these things die every second. And the more spiritual knowledge that I gain, and the more religious or spiritual experiences that I'm a part of, I start to realize and have realized that there is so much more than this form, this identity, and holding on for dear life to this ego. There are things beyond this ego that the soul is a part of, and that the ego must be relinquished in order to achieve. So everybody believes we're going at this wall, that we're being launched at this wall, and this wall is death, like crash test dummies in a car. But very few people believe that this wall actually has a door, and that it's more of a door than a wall altogether. And all you have to do is realize how to turn the knob while you're going towards this door in order to travel into your next phase of existence. Now, when you're afraid, when you die, it's a little bit different than if you're accepting that, okay, I have to go through the next process in order to travel on from this dimension to another, or into another body from this body. If you're afraid, that wall seems very real, and you're adding to the fear of all the souls that came before you, or not all the souls, all the bodies that came before you that your soul inhabited. And you're adding to that fear because most of those bodies would have had the same fear. And once you get to a place to where you realize, okay, I'm actually not this body, that fear is going to be basically tallied up, and it's going to be a part of you forever. Now, you can counterbalance this fear. It doesn't mean that you're always going to be afraid. It just means that you have to reach a point to where you counterbalance all that fear. And courage and knowledge actually are much stronger than fear, so it doesn't take much. if you can counter that fear in this, if you can counter the fear that you have of death in this lifetime, then that fear of death will not only not be added to the fear that you felt in other bodies, your soul has felt in other bodies, but it will also dismantle the fear that you felt in other bodies. That doesn't mean that you should go trying to die willy-nilly, but it does mean that if you're going to die, and you should die either trying to help other people, if it comes down to that, if that's necessary, or you should die after living a life where you know you made good decisions as far as aiding other people in destroying their own fear and seeing past their own bodies. And eventually we can reach a point together where the fear of death is not dominating. It won't be a part of time. We will see time as an illusion, and fear of death will be the exact same illusion as time is. We're slowly starting to see the illusions of time and death, but it's going to be a while longer before the majority of people realize it. Now, when you go to other dimensions, or when you go to a new body after this body dies, that can be a very scary process. But depending on what kind of vibration you've allied yourself with, and whatever magnitude that frequency is, that vibration is, depends on if you're likely to get a guardian or a guide after you die. If you've always tried to do good, or at least spread it around, or tried to understand the meaning of existence to the best of your abilities, then it is likely you'll gain an angelic kind of guide. There's different names for it in different traditions. There's different names for the dimensions in different traditions. And the only ones I wholeheartedly disagree with is the ones that is the idea that hell lasts forever for any soul, because I always believe that we're on a path. And the path towards God may have these valleys, these deep pits, but I do not believe, and I will never believe, that God would damn anybody or anything to hell for an eternity, because 1,000,000,000,000 times 1,000,000,000,000 years is just a second in eternity. It's nothing. And nobody could commit enough crime in order to be banished to hell for that long, let alone for eternity. But getting back on track, if you allow yourself and try to do the best good, to be kind of double positive, in this world while you're here, you're likely to get a guide that will guide you based on your vibration. This guide will guide you based on the choices that you've made, and will continue the choices that you made in life in the afterlife, and show you how to get to a higher reality based on your choice. But the people who have chosen a lower vibration, the ones who sought power, the ones who sought to gratify themselves and not other people, the ones who had no concern for other people's well-being but only their own, those people will be guided as well, but they will be guided by demonic servitors of the kings of hell, basically, I guess you could say. These are all metaphors as far as I'm concerned, but I'm giving you an idea. And they will be guided through the labyrinth of all the different pains and sorrows, and depending on their loyalty to their lower vibration, they will either experience seemingly never-ending pain, or they will be guided into a kind of apotheosis, a negative apotheosis of dark power, once they're guided through the labyrinth in the hells. And these are two different paths that can lead to greater... One leads to greater understanding and liberation, one leads to greater power. But there is only one that grants one unity, and there is one that creates such division between one soul and every other soul that it is not an enjoyable power, even if it is gained. And that's when you descend. That's the left-hand path when you go down. But when you go up, when you seek greater unity, when you seek greater understanding, when you seek liberation, and you are guided as such after this life, assuming that you've achieved another dimension, either up or down, metaphorically, and not brought a reincarnation for yourself, not had to walk through certain lessons that you didn't learn while you were alive. Now, this has been kind of a rant on death not being real, not being permanent, and really the misconceptions that we have. Death is really ignorance. Death doesn't have an existence in and of itself. It is just our lack of sight, being able to see what happens to who we truly are once a body goes limp. Most of us don't see it. The vast majority of us don't see it. We don't understand what happens. And it's kind of like if a baby sees basically its mother hold up a plate and block its face, or her face. And then for that baby, the mother's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. But then when she removes it, his or her mother is there again. This is exactly what death is. It's this adult version of hiding the face of what the soul truly is, but it's with the dead body. And it's a much longer period until somebody is reincarnated or goes to another dimension. When I say very long, I mean it could be days, weeks, months, but the process must continue. And just because there is a body, it does not mean that somebody is gone. And if we can see that, then we can understand how death is illusory. It is not real. It does not exist. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this has been beneficial. It's been a bit of a rant, like I said, but if you have any questions, shoot them down in the comment section below, and I will get back to you. Thank you very much.